Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump just directly blasted the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, Justice John Roberts. Now, as you all know, for weeks now, President Trump has been dealing with a never-ending wave of hyper-partisan federal judges who have been stepping way outside their judicial role in an attempt to undermine every single one of President Trump's executive actions. And so, because of all of this judicial overreach, President Trump's team recently floated the idea of just impeaching these rogue judges altogether, which, I'll be honest, makes total sense because they've been absolutely overstepping their boundaries. And so now, this is where Chief Justice Roberts enters the picture. You see, when he caught wind of President Trump's plan to possibly start impeaching some of these activist judges, Roberts had this to say. For more than 2 centuries, it has been established that impeachment is not an appropriate response to disagreement concerning a judicial decision. A normal appellate review process exists for that purpose. Now, technically speaking, Justice Roberts isn't wrong about this. Yes, if you disagree with a federal judge's decision, you can go through the appellate process, you can appeal the ruling and let a panel of judges weigh in on it. But folks, here's the problem with that. Just in the last 12 months alone, the Democrats have appointed over 230 radical, progressive, hyper-partisan federal judges. And it's no mystery what their job is. Their job is to block every single thing that President Trump tries to do. In fact, if you don't believe me, take a look at this.
Yes, our democracy is at risk because Donald Trump shows that he wishes to violate the laws in many, many different ways. The good news here is we did put 235 judges, progressive judges, judges not under the control of Trump last year on the bench, and they are ruling against Trump time after time after time. And we hope that the appellate courts, when it gets up there in the Supreme Court, will uphold those rulings.
So folks, there you have it. The Democrats have intentionally rigged the judicial system. But you know what? Let's be honest here for a second. The Democrats know that most of these federal injunctions are not going to hold up long term. They know that they'll eventually get struck down by an appellate court or the Supreme Court. But as far as the Democrats are concerned, that's not the point. You see, their entire strategy is just to flood the system with as many bogus lawsuits as they possibly can in an effort to slow down President Trump. This tactic isn't about stopping Trump in the long term. No, it's about burying him in legal red tape, stalling his agenda, and wasting as much time, energy, and money as possible. And so, folks, this is what we call lawfare. It's warfare being fought in the legal system, and it's being weaponized against our president in real time. But you know what? Okay, what do you say we move along to the real meat of today's story? You see, just yesterday afternoon, President Trump issued a direct, scorching message to Chief Justice John Roberts, and let me tell you, he did not hold back. And so we're going to take a look at that here in just a moment, but first, I want to say real quick that if you guys enjoy the daily news coverage, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton with my daily struggle against the YouTube algorithm. But okay, folks, now let's take a look at what President Trump had to say. Unlawful nationwide injunctions by radical left judges could very well lead to the destruction of our country. These people are lunatics who do not care even a little bit about the repercussions from their very dangerous and incorrect decisions and rulings. Lawyers endlessly search the United States for these judges and file lawsuits as quickly as they find them. It is then the obligation of law-abiding agencies of government to have these orders overturned. The dangers are unparalleled. These judges want to assume the powers of the presidency without having to attain 80 million votes. They want all the advantages and none of the risks. Stop nationwide injunctions now before it is too late. If Justice John Roberts and the United States Supreme Court do not fix this toxic and unprecedented situation immediately, our country is in very serious trouble. And you know what, folks? President Trump is absolutely right. Here's the reality. If the Supreme Court doesn't step in and explicitly limit the power of these rogue federal judges, then yes, we're headed straight for a constitutional crisis. Because at that point, we're no longer living in a democracy. No, what we're living under is a judicial dictatorship, an unelected bureaucracy of over 700 federal judges who can override the will of 80 million American voters whenever they see fit. And you know what, folks? Here's something important to keep in mind about all of this. It was none other than Supreme Court Chief Justice Roberts who recently ruled against Trump on the issue of foreign USAID spending in a decision that made absolutely zero legal sense. So if you're wondering whether Roberts is going to stand up for the Constitution and put a stop to all of this judicial overreach, well, I wouldn't be holding my breath. But you know what? I'll be totally honest. I'm going to tell you what happens if Supreme Court Justice Roberts doesn't make the right decision here. What that would mean is that any one of these over 700 federal judges can single-handedly override the President of the United States. No vote, no accountability, no recourse, no democratic process. That, folks, is tyranny of the judiciary. That is the situation that we are dealing with right now. And by the way, our founding fathers actually warned us about this exact scenario. In fact, take a look at what none other than the late and great Thomas Jefferson had to say about all of this over 200 years ago. To consider the judges as the ultimate arbiters of all constitutional questions is a very dangerous doctrine indeed, and one which would place us under the despotism of an oligarchy. Sound a little bit familiar? Thomas Jefferson saw all of this coming, and guess what? He was right. And folks, as a little bit of a reminder, Thomas Jefferson was the primary author of a little document called the Declaration of Independence, so I think he probably knows what he was talking about. And you know what? Now that I think about it, just a few days ago, President Trump actually decided to hang up the Declaration of Independence right next to his desk in the Oval Office. So who knows? Maybe that was just for decoration, or maybe he's sending a message. Because hey, at the end of the day, this battle over judicial overreach isn't just about the letter of the law. No, it's about who actually runs this country. Us, the American people, or a bunch of unelected, hyper-partisan, activist federal judges. And you know what, folks, I hate to say it, but regarding that question, the verdict is still out. We're just going to have to wait and see. Really, the future of our nation hangs in the balance right now. In the very near future, our Supreme Court is going to have to make one of the most important decisions of this country's entire history. And that decision is who's really running the show. The democratically elected President of the United States of America, who's representing the overwhelming will of the people? Or a bunch of radical progressive judges that have been appointed for the sole and exclusive purpose of undermining this country's democratic function. Because once again, folks, that is what's really at stake here. Now, folks, before we wrap up with today's video, I want to say real quick that I've actually gone ahead and made a community Facebook page where I'll be posting additional news and updates as it relates to all of this. So if you guys use Facebook, check out the pinned comment down below and give that page a follow. But everyone, that is going to be a wrap for today's video, so please go down below and drop a comment. Let me know what you think about all of this. Please like the video while you're down there if you liked it. As I said earlier, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton. Thank you all very much for tuning in today, and of course, as always, stay safe.